I was standing in the middle of the ballroom at the Vanderbilt estate when my little sister Tiffany handed me a gift box that would change everything. The chandeliers above cast a golden glow over 200 guests dressed in designer gowns and tailored suits, all of them watching as she smiled that perfect smile of hers and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "Sister William and I got you something special. We're so worried about you." The box was large and wrapped in grey paper, not the elegant cream and gold that decorated every other surface of her engagement party. When I opened it, my hands trembling slightly, though I didn't know why yet, I found a bridesmaid dress. But not just any dress. It was the most hideous shade of ash grey I'd ever seen, with ruffles in all the wrong places, and a cut that would make anyone look frumpy. Beneath it was a voucher, $10,000 for a complete makeover package at some cosmetic surgery centre. The room went silent, except for Tiffany's voice, sweet as poisoned honey. "We just thought you could use a little help looking presentable at our wedding, so you don't embarrass the family." The laughter started then. Soft titters from the society women my mother had invited, knowing chuckles from my father's business associates. My mother, Eleanor Vanderbilt, walked up beside Tiffany and placed a manicured hand on my younger sister's shoulder. "Take it, Eleanor. Don't be difficult. Tiffany is trying to help you. God knows with your situation you need all the help you can get. If you're watching this story and you've ever felt invisible in your own family, like you're the problem child no matter what you do, hit that like button. Subscribe because you're going to want to hear how this ends. And comment below telling me if you think I did the right thing, because what happened next is something I'd been holding back for 8 long months. Let me take you back to the beginning so you understand how I got here. My name is Elena Vanderbilt, or at least it was. I'm 30 years old, and I've spent most of my life being the responsible one, the invisible one, the one who was supposed to be grateful for scraps while my younger sister got the feast. Tiffany is 26 4 years younger than me, and from the moment she was born, it was clear she was the favourite. Maybe it was because she looked more like our mother with those big blue eyes and blonde hair that photographed beautifully. Maybe it was because I looked like our father's side of the family, dark hair and strong features, that my mother always said were handsome instead of pretty. Whatever the reason, I learned early that love in the Vanderbilt house was conditional, and mine always came with terms and conditions. I worked hard. God, did I work hard. I put myself through architecture school because my father said investing in my education was a waste when Tiffany needed piano lessons and riding lessons, and eventually a debut at the spring cotillion that cost more than my entire 4 years of college. I graduated top of my class and got a job at a mid-tier firm in the city. Nothing glamorous, but I was proud. I was building something. Every time I achieved something, there was a moment where I hoped my parents would notice, would say they were proud. But it was always the same response. "That's nice, dear. Did you hear Tiffany got featured in the society pages, Or, good for you. By the way, can you lend your sister some money? She's a little short this month." The money thing started small, 100 here, 200 there. Tiffany was in college studying God knows what because she changed majors every semester and my parents funded her lifestyle, but somehow there was never quite enough. I was the one with the job, with the steady paycheck, so I was the one who got the calls. "Elena, be a good sister." That phrase haunted me. Be a good sister, be a good daughter. Don't make waves, don't complain, don't ask for anything in return. Over 5 years I gave Tiffany over $40,000. Money I'd saved for a down payment on my own place. Money I'd planned to use to start my own firm someday. Every time I handed over my bank card, I told myself this was the last time. This was the time she'd appreciate it, the time my family would see my value, but appreciation never came. Then I met Lucas. It was at a construction site of all places. I was there doing a final walkthrough on a project, and he was meeting with the developer, Lucas Black. Even his name sounded powerful. He was tall, with dark hair starting to silver at the temples, and eyes that seemed to see right through every wall I'd built around myself. He was 42, successful in ways I'd only dreamed about, the CEO of Black Shield Security Solutions, a company that provided high-end security systems for celebrities, politicians, and billionaires. We started talking about the building's security infrastructure, and 3 hours later, we were still talking over coffee about everything else. He pursued me like I was someone worth pursuing. He sent flowers to my office, not roses, but my favourite peonies, because he'd paid attention when I mentioned them. He took me to dinner at places where the waiters knew his name, but treated me like I was the important one. For the first time in my life, someone made me feel seen. Not like the overlooked older sister, not like the ATM machine, but like Elena. Just Elena. The woman who loved classical architecture and terrible horror movies, who could quote statistics about urban planning and also laugh until she snorted at stupid jokes. 6 months after we met, Lucas asked me to marry him. We were in his penthouse overlooking the city, and he got down on one knee with a ring that must have cost more than my annual salary. But what made me cry wasn't the ring, it was what he said. "Elena, you are the most remarkable woman I've ever met. You're brilliant, you're kind, and you deserve someone who sees your worth. Let me be that person for the rest of our lives." I said yes, of course I said yes. And in that moment of pure happiness, my first thought was that maybe now finally my family would be proud of me. Maybe now they'd see that I was worth something. I was so naive. We decided on a small wedding, intimate and elegant. Lucas suggested Italy, a resort in Tuscany that he knew. The venue was spectacular, a restored villa, overlooking rolling hills covered in vineyards. It cost more per night than most people make in a month, but Lucas insisted. "You deserve magic," he told me. We set a date 8 months before Tiffany's engagement party. I was nervous but excited as I sat down to make the guest list. My parents, obviously. Tiffany. A handful of close friends. Lucas's family and associates, about 60 people total. I spent days writing the perfect invitation. Cream cardstock with gold embossing, elegant calligraphy. I enclosed photos of the venue, the itinerary, everything my family would need to know. I packaged it carefully in a velvet box with ribbons, the kind of presentation my mother always appreciated. I sent it via FedEx signature required to make sure it arrived safely. Then I waited for them to call. Days passed, then a week. I told myself they were busy, that they'd call soon to congratulate me, to squeal about dress shopping and plans. I called my mother. She was short with me. "I'm busy helping Tiffany with her finals, Elena. What do you need?" When I mentioned the wedding, she sighed. "Oh, that? Well, we'll see. It's quite far, isn't it?" Another week passed. No call, no text, nothing. I called again. My father picked up this time. "Elena, we're dealing with a lot right now. Tiffany is going through something. She's depressed. She's been having a hard time with her boyfriend. Can we talk about this later?" Later never came. The wedding approached. I called, texted, emailed. The responses were vague, dismissive. "We'll try to make it. We're not sure about the dates. That's really far." Finally, 2 weeks before the wedding, I called one last time. My mother answered, irritated. "Elena, for God's sake, we're not coming to Italy. Do you have any idea how expensive that would be? And Tiffany is in no state to travel. She's been devastated since her breakup. She needs us here." I felt something crack inside my chest. "Mum, it's my wedding." "Well, maybe you should have thought about your family before planning something so extravagant and far away. Honestly, Elena, it feels like you're showing off. It's not very becoming." She hung up. I stood there holding my phone, shaking. Lucas found me crying in our bedroom. When I told him, his face went hard in a way I'd never seen before. "They're not coming to our wedding because it's too far, Elena. I offered to fly them first class. I offered to pay for everything. They know that." "Maybe they didn't get that message," I said weakly. "Or maybe," Lucas said quietly, holding my hands, "they don't want to come." I didn't want to believe it. I told myself there had to be a misunderstanding. So I sent another invitation, this time with a handwritten note from both Lucas and me. I sent it priority overnight. I tracked it online obsessively. Delivered. Signature required. Someone signed for it. My heart lifted. Maybe this would be the thing that changed their minds. The wedding was beautiful. I wore a dress that made me feel like a princess, and Lucas looked at me like I was the only person in the world. We exchanged vows under a pergola covered in white roses as the Tuscan sun set behind the hills. Our friends were there, Lucas's family was there, and they celebrated us with genuine joy. But there were 3 empty seats in the front row where my parents and sister should have been. Every time I looked at those seats during the ceremony, I felt the absence like a physical wound. Lucas noticed. He always noticed. During our first dance, he whispered, "Their loss, my love. Their incredible loss." We honeymooned in this villa for a week, and it should have been perfect. It was perfect except for the sadness I carried. Lucas had to cut the honeymoon short for a major business deal, and we promised we'd take a longer trip later. When we got back to the States, I told myself I'd go see my family in person, explain repair, whatever had broken. But life got busy. Lucas's business was expanding and I'd gotten a promotion at work. Months passed in a blur of deadlines and meetings. Then 6 months after my wedding, my mother called. Not to ask how married life was, not to apologise for missing the wedding. "Elena Tiffany is engaged. Isn't that wonderful? She's marrying William Sterling. Do you know the Sterling family? They're lawyers, very prominent. The wedding is going to be spectacular. We're so proud of her." I felt numb. "That's great, Mum. Congratulations to Tiffany. The engagement party is in 2 months. You'll come, won't you? It's at the estate. Black tie. Don't worry about bringing that husband of yours. I'm sure he's busy." That husband of yours. She'd never even met Lucas. Never asked to meet him. I wanted to scream. Instead I said, "I'll be there." Lucas didn't want me to go. "Elena, why are you doing this to yourself? They didn't come to our wedding. They didn't even acknowledge it. Maybe if I show up, be supportive, things will get better," I said, even though I didn't really believe it. "Or maybe," Lucas said, his voice gentle but firm, "they'll hurt you again." I went anyway. I showed up alone to Tiffany's engagement party at our family estate, the house I'd grown up in, but never really felt like home. The Vanderbilt estate was lit up like a palace with valets parking cars and waiters circulating with champagne. I'd worn my best dress, a deep emerald silk that Lucas had bought me, and I'd done my makeup carefully. I wanted them to see that I was fine, that I was happy, that I didn't need their approval anymore, even though that was a lie. The moment I walked in, my mother looked me up and down with that critical eye she reserved for me. "Eleanor, you made it. That dress is very bold. Try not to draw too much attention. This is Tiffany's night." Then she turned away to greet other guests, dismissing me as easily as she always had. I found Tiffany, in the centre of a crowd, glowing in a white cocktail dress, showing off her engagement ring to a group of cooing women. When she saw me, something flickered across her face. Not happiness, not even fake warmth. It looked almost like annoyance. "Elena, you came..." She air-kissed near my cheeks without actually touching me. "I wasn't sure you'd show up. You've been so distant lately." Distant. I'd been distant. I bit back a response and just smiled. "Congratulations, Tiff. I'm happy for you." "Thanks. Oh, you have to meet William." She dragged me over to a tall, handsome man in an expensive suit. William Sterling had kind eyes and a genuine smile. He shook my hand warmly. "Elena, I've heard so much about you. Tiffany says you're an architect. That's fascinating." For a moment, I felt a flicker of hope. At least Tiffany's fiancé seemed nice. We chatted briefly about my work, and he seemed genuinely interested. Then Tiffany pulled him away to meet someone else, and I was alone again in a room full of people who were supposed to be my family and friends, but felt like strangers. I endured 2 hours of small talk and sideways glances. People asked politely about my job, but seemed more interested in talking about Tiffany's wedding plans. My father spoke to me briefly, asking about work, but his attention was clearly elsewhere. Then the speeches started. My mother gushed about Tiffany, about how she'd always known her youngest daughter would find the perfect match. My father talked about William's impressive family background and how proud he was to welcome him into our family. Not once did anyone mention me. Then Tiffany took the microphone. "I just want to thank everyone for coming tonight. Your love and support means everything to William and me. And speaking of support, I have a special gift for someone very special." She looked right at me, and something in her expression made my skin crawl. "Elena, big sister, can you come up here?" My stomach dropped, but everyone was looking at me expectantly. I walked up to where Tiffany stood under a spotlight feeling exposed. She handed me a large box, wrapped in that awful grey paper. William and I wanted to do something special for you. We know you've been going through a tough time and we want to help. I opened the box confused. Inside was the ugliest bridesmaid dress I'd ever seen. Ash grey, covered in ruffles with a cut that was clearly meant to be unflattering. And beneath it, a voucher. $10,000 for cosmetic surgery. A complete makeover package. The room went silent. Then Tiffany spoke again, her voice dripping with fake concern. "We're just worried about you, sis. You've been single for so long and we thought maybe if you looked a little better you might finally find someone. And this way you won't look so out of place in our wedding photos." I heard the gasps, the shocked murmurs, but I also heard the laughter. The mean, knowing laughter of people who enjoyed watching someone get humiliated. My mother stepped forward, taking Tiffany's side, as she always did. "Oh, take it, Elena. Don't be proud. Tiffany is trying to help your situation. God knows you need it." Something inside me snapped. It wasn't a loud snap. It was quiet like ice cracking on a frozen lake. 8 months of silence. 8 months of being ignored, dismissed, erased. 8 months of telling myself maybe they had their reasons. Maybe I'd done something wrong. Maybe if I just tried harder. All of it crystallized in this moment, standing in front of 200 people holding a gift designed to humiliate me. I looked at the dress. I looked at the voucher. Then I looked at Tiffany, really looked at her. And I saw the truth I'd been avoiding for years. She wasn't trying to help me. She hated me. She'd always hated me, or maybe not hated, but resented. Resented that I existed, that I was older, that I had anything at all. And my parents enabled it, encouraged it, because it was easier than treating both daughters equally. I dropped the box. It hit the marble floor with a satisfying thud. "No," I said quietly. Tiffany blinked. "What?" I said no. I picked up a glass of red wine from a nearby waiter's tray. My hand was steady. "I don't need your ugly dress. And I certainly don't need cosmetic surgery advice from someone who's been photoshopping her Instagram photos for the past 5 years. Tiffany's face went red. "How dare you?" "How dare I?" I laughed, and it sounded strange even to my own ears. How dare I not be grateful for being insulted in front of everyone I know? Tiffany, let me tell you what I don't need. I don't need fashion advice from a woman who wore Uggs to a charity gala. I don't need life advice from someone who's been mooching off our parents while pretending to be in college for 6 years. And I certainly don't need relationship advice from a spoiled brat who couldn't keep a boyfriend until she found one who was too polite to realise he was dating a narcissist. The room erupted. People were gasping, talking over each other. Tiffany lunged at me, trying to slap me, but I caught her wrist easily. She was shorter than me, weaker, and she'd never expected me to fight back. "Don't touch me," I said, my voice cold. My father's voice boomed across the room. "Eleanor, what the hell do you think you're doing? Apologise to your sister right now." I turned to face him, this man who'd never fought for me, never defended me, never once asked if I was okay. Apologise for what, Dad? For having self-respect? Or should I apologise for something else? Maybe for not inviting you to my wedding 8 months ago. The room went dead silent. My mother's face went white. William, who'd been standing to the side looking confused, stepped forward. "Wait, what? Wedding Tiffany told me you were going through depression after a bad breakup. She said you'd cut off contact with the family." I laughed again, bitter and sharp. "Is that what she told you? That's interesting, William, because 8 months ago I got married in Tuscany, at a villa that costs $50,000 a night. I sent my family invitations. Beautiful invitations, personally delivered, signature required. And do you know what they did? They threw them away. They didn't even have the decency to send their regrets." My mother found her voice. "You're lying. You're making this up to ruin Tiffany's night." "Am I?" I pulled out my phone. My hands weren't shaking anymore. I felt calm, eerily calm. "See, Mom, the funny thing is, my husband owns a security company. And one of the things his company does is install high-end surveillance systems, like the one he installed in this house 2 years ago when Dad's company did that partnership deal with Black Shield Security." My father's face changed. "Black Shield, but that's..." "My husband's company, yes." I walked over to the large screen that had been showing a slideshow of Tiffany and William's photos. I connected my phone to the system. Lucas had taught me how I'd made sure I knew how to access the cloud server if I ever needed it. Let me show you all something interesting. The screen flickered. The logo for Black Shield Security appeared, then switched to video footage. Date stamped, 8 months ago. The camera showed the front door of this very house. A FedEx delivery person walked up with a package clearly wrapped in velvet. The doorbell rang. The footage switched to an interior camera. And there was Tiffany, opening the door in her pyjamas, her hair messy, makeup-free. She signed for the package, looked at the label. I watched her face on the screen as she read the names. Elena and Lucas Black. She opened it right there, pulled out the invitation, read it. For a moment, her expression was blank. Then she smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was cruel. The footage showed Tiffany walking through the house to the living room. The fireplace was burning. She stood there for a moment, looking at the invitation in her hands at the photos of the beautiful venue. Then she picked up her phone and made a call. The security system had caught the audio. "Jennifer, you're never going to believe this. That bitch Eleanor is getting married. Some rich guy, apparently. She sent this insane invitation for a wedding in Italy." A pause. "Oh, no way, am I telling Mom and Dad? Why would I let her have her little destination wedding with no family there? Maybe she'll finally get the hint that nobody cares." She laughed. "The best part, she probably spent a fortune on these invitations. Watch this." On screen, Tiffany walked to the fireplace and threw the velvet box invitation and all directly into the flames. She stood there watching it burn, that smile never leaving her face. The video ended. The ballroom was so quiet I could hear my own breathing. William looked like he'd been punched. My mother's face was grey. My father just stared at the screen. Tiffany was shaking her head frantically. "That's edited, that's fake. She's good with computers. She's an architect. She knows Photoshop." "Son, that's not Photoshop, Tiffany," I said quietly. "That's cloud-stored security footage from a server that's been backed up redundantly and encrypted. It's admissible in court, actually. I checked with my husband's lawyers." "Your husband—" My mother's voice was barely a whisper. The doors to the ballroom opened. I'd timed this perfectly. Lucas walked in, flanked by 2 security personnel who worked for his company. He was wearing a tailored suit that probably cost more than my father's car, and he carried himself with the kind of authority that made people instinctively move aside. He crossed the room and came to stand beside me, wrapping his arm around my waist. "Good evening," Lucas said, his voice pleasant but with an edge of steel. "I apologise for the dramatic entrance. I'm Lucas Black, Elena's husband. We've been married for 8 months now, though I understand there's been some confusion about that in this family." My father was staring at Lucas like he'd seen a ghost. "Mr. Black, Lucas Black from Black Shield. But we have a meeting next week about the expansion deal." "Had a meeting," Lucas corrected smoothly. "I'm afraid that deal is off the table now. My company doesn't do business with people who treat my wife like garbage." He turned to me, his expression softening. "I'm sorry I couldn't be here earlier, love. That Singapore deal ran long. But I'm here now." He kissed my forehead, a gesture so tender that I felt tears prick at my eyes. This man, this incredible man who'd flown halfway across the world to stand by me, who'd always seen my worth when my own family couldn't. William stepped forward. He looked pale, but his voice was steady. "Tiffany, is this true? Did you really burn your sister's wedding invitation? Did you lie to me about her?" Tiffany was crying now, mascara running down her face. "It's not what it looks like. She's twisting everything. I was upset that day. I wasn't thinking clearly. You told me she was severely depressed and had cut off her family," William said, his voice getting harder. "You said she'd been jealous of you your whole life and couldn't stand to see you happy. You made me feel sorry for you, like you were this wounded person dealing with a difficult sister, and all of it was lies." "William, please." Tiffany reached for him, but he stepped back. "Do you know what kind of crime this is?" William pulled off his engagement ring. It was a massive diamond, probably worth $500,000. He dropped it into the glass of champagne on the nearby table. "Destroying someone's mail is a federal offence, Tiffany. It's mail tampering, possibly mail theft, depending on how you want to frame it. As a lawyer, I can tell you that's punishable by up to 5 years in federal prison." Tiffany's face went white. You can't be serious. It was just a wedding invitation. It was federal mail, I said softly. Certified signature required federal mail. And you destroyed it intentionally. I have proof, timestamps, video evidence, and witness statements from the delivery company. My lawyers have already filed a police report. As if on cue, the sound of sirens drifted through the open windows. My mother started crying loud, dramatic sobs. Eleanor, please, we're family. You can't do this, please. I looked at this woman who'd given birth to me but never really mothered me. Family. You mean the family that told everyone I was depressed and single when I was actually happily married? The family that didn't show up to the most important day of my life because it was inconvenient? The family that let my sister publicly humiliate me while you all laughed? I shook my head. That's not family, Mum. That's just people who share my DNA. My father tried a different approach. Elena, be reasonable. Think about what this will do to our reputation, to the business. If you pursue this, the scandal will destroy you, I finished. I know, I'm counting on it. 2 police officers entered the ballroom. They spoke quietly with Lucas, who handed them some documents. Then they walked over to Tiffany. Miss Tiffany Vanderbilt, we need you to come with us to answer some questions regarding mail tampering and destruction of federal property. Tiffany screamed. She actually screamed like a child throwing a tantrum. She tried to run, but the officers caught her easily. This is insane! You can't arrest me, Daddy. Do something. But my father just stood there watching his favourite daughter get handcuffed, too shocked to move. My mother was sobbing, reaching for Tiffany, but the officers gently moved her aside. William watched it all with an expression of disgust. Then he turned to my parents. Mr. and Mrs. Vanderbilt, the Sterling family, will not be moving forward with any association with your family. The engagement is terminated. You'll be receiving documentation from our lawyers regarding the return of any gifts or deposits. He walked over to me. Elena, I'm sorry. I had no idea. I hope you and your husband will be very happy. He shook Lucas's hand, nodded to me, and walked out with his dignity intact. The ballroom erupted into chaos after that. Guests were filming everything on their phones, probably already uploading to social media. My mother was still crying, begging me to stop this. My father was on his phone, probably calling his lawyer. The hired help looked like they wanted to disappear. I reached into my purse and pulled out an envelope. Inside was a cheque my father had given me years ago, a consolation prize after I'd graduated college summa cum laude, and he'd only given Tiffany a car for getting a B average. $50,000 he'd told me to do something with. I'd never cashed it. It felt like blood money. I walked over to where Tiffany was being led out, the officers giving me a moment. I held up the cheque where she could see it, then tore it into pieces. The fragments floated down like confetti, landing in her perfectly styled hair. Consider this your wedding present, Tiff, or maybe a going-away gift for prison. Either way, it's the last thing you're ever getting from me. She was still screaming my name as they took her out of the ballroom. Lucas took my hand, ready to leave Mrs. Black, more than ready. I looked back one last time at the scene. My mother collapsed in a chair, my father pacing angrily, guests whispering and staring. This house, this family, this life where I'd spent 30 years trying to be good enough. Let's go home. We walked out together and the cool night air felt like freedom. Lucas's Rolls-Royce was waiting at the bottom of the steps, sleek and black, and everything my family had secretly been jealous of. As we drove away, I could see the flashing red and blue lights of more police cars arriving. The press would have a field day with this. The Vanderbilt family scandal would be on every society page tomorrow. Are you okay? Lucas asked as we pulled onto the main road. I thought about it. Was I okay? I'd just destroyed my relationship with my entire family. I'd had my sister arrested. I'd humiliated my parents in front of everyone they knew. By all accounts, I should be devastated. Instead, I felt light, lighter than I'd felt in years. You know what I actually am. For the first time in my life, I stood up for myself. I stopped being the good daughter, the good sister, the one who took whatever they dished out and smiled. I chose myself. Lucas lifted my hand to his lips. I'm proud of you. I know that wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of lawyers, police statements, and media attention. Tiffany was charged with federal mail tampering. She pled guilty as part of a plea deal and got 2 years probation community service and a hefty fine. William's family made sure the story stayed in the news, wanting to distance themselves from the scandal. My parents tried to do damage control, spinning stories about family drama and misunderstandings, but the video footage had gone viral. Everyone had seen Tiffany burn my wedding invitation while laughing about it. My phone rang constantly those first few days. My mother called crying, begging me to drop the charges. My father called angry, threatening to disown me, as if that wasn't exactly what I wanted. Old family friends called, some to gossip, some to awkwardly take sides. I blocked most of them. The only one I answered was William, who called to apologise again and to wish me well. He was a good man. He deserved better than Tiffany. Lucas and I left the country for a while, finally taking that extended honeymoon he'd promised me. We went to the Maldives, stayed in an overwater bungalow, where the ocean was so clear you could see tropical fish swimming beneath the floor. We slept in, made love, talked for hours about everything and nothing. For the first time since I could remember, I wasn't trying to prove anything to anyone. I wasn't the disappointing older sister or the invisible daughter. I was just Elena, a woman who was loved and valued exactly as she was. When we came back, I made some changes. I quit my job at the mid-tier architecture firm and joined Lucas's company as the head of design for their new facilities division. Turns out, I had a talent for designing security-conscious buildings. I started therapy, working through years of emotional neglect and conditional love. I learned to set boundaries, to say no, to recognise when someone was taking advantage of my kindness. My parents tried to reconcile about 6 months later. They showed up at our penthouse unannounced, looking older and more tired than I remembered. My father had lost the deal with Black Shield, and apparently several other business partners had distanced themselves after the scandal. My mother's social standing had taken a massive hit. They needed me, or more accurately, they needed Lucas's connections. I let them in, not because I forgave them, but because I wanted to say my piece with a clear head. We sat in the living room, expensive coffee growing cold on the table between us. My mother tried to hug me, but I stepped back. "Just sit down, Mom." They sat. My father cleared his throat. "Elena, we've had some time to think. What happened at Tiffany's party got out of hand. We're willing to move past it if you are. Perhaps we can start over." "Start over?" I repeated. "You want to start over? Tell me, Dad, what exactly are we starting over? From the part where you missed my wedding? The part where you let Tiffany humiliate me publicly? Or maybe the part where you took her side without ever asking me for my version of events?" No. My mother dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. "We made mistakes, Elena. We admit that. But we're family. Surely that counts for something." "It should count for everything," I said quietly. "That's the whole point. Family should be the people who love you unconditionally, who support you, who show up. You didn't do any of that. You had 30 years to treat me like I mattered, and you chose not to. So, no, I'm not interested in starting over. I'm interested in moving forward with my life. And that life doesn't include people who see me as a backup plan or a resource to exploit." They tried to argue, to negotiate, to make promises. But I'd heard it all before. Eventually they left. I haven't seen them since. I heard through the grapevine that my father's company downsized significantly and my parents had to sell the estate. Tiffany moved in with them after her probation ended, unable to find a job with her record. Part of me felt sorry for them, but mostly I felt free. I'm 32 now. Lucas and I have built a beautiful life together. We travel, we work on projects we're passionate about, we support each other's dreams. I've reconnected with old friends who knew me before I became the family punching bag, and I've made new friends who only know me as the confident, successful woman I've become. I've learnt that family isn't just about blood, it's about choosing people who choose you back. Sometimes people ask me if I regret what happened at that engagement party, if I regret having my sister arrested, if I regret cutting off my parents. The answer is simple: no, not for a second. Because that night wasn't just about revenge or getting even. It was about respect, self-respect. It was about finally saying, enough is enough, about refusing to accept crumbs when I deserved a seat at the table. It was about recognising that my worth wasn't determined by whether my family acknowledged it. If I could go back and talk to the Elena who stood in that ballroom 8 months before her wedding, heartbroken because her family wouldn't come, I'd tell her this. You are not too much and you are not too little. You are exactly enough just as you are. The people who can't see that are telling you everything you need to know about them and nothing about you. Walk away. You'll lose people, but you'll find yourself, and that trade is worth everything. Your value doesn't decrease based on someone's inability to see your worth. Not your parents, not your siblings, not anyone. You teach people how to treat you, and sometimes the most powerful lesson is walking away from those who refuse to learn. So here's my question for you. Have you ever had to choose between keeping the peace and keeping your self-respect? Have you ever walked away from a relationship, even a family relationship, because staying would mean losing yourself? What would you do if you were in my position? Let me know in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe, because standing up for yourself is a journey we're all on together. Share this with someone who needs to hear that it's okay to choose themselves. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let go of people who never held you properly to begin with.